Well, hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday to you all, the beginning of a new week, a week of what appears to be a pandemic and mass hysteria within the United States over this coronavirus. So silly, as silly as it might seem. I mean, I know we have to take precautions for it. I understand that, but I've never, in my whole lifetime, we've gone through the swine flu, we've gone through NH1, we've had pneumonia, we've had measles, we've had it all, and I've never, ever, ever seen a pandemic quite such as we are seeing today. So all we got to do is really do our part, listen to what the CDC is telling us, and wash our hands. If we're not feeling well, we feel like we got a cough, a cold, whatever, just stay inside the house. Do our part not to expose yourself or others to it. Even if you think you might have been exposed, it'd be a good idea just to isolate yourself or go get tested yourself as well. Um, I heard on the radio today that one of the couples that got it when they were on a cruise, one of the 700 people that were on probably was a Princess cruise, and they asked him what his symptoms were, and he says, "I didn't know I had it. Never even knew I had it. They just tested me because I was at risk, where I was at, or whatever it was." And he goes, "And I have not had, I never once knew I had it." But he goes, "Then there's others that it can really hurt bad." So you go to the grocery store. To the grocery store this morning, and it was like lines were outrageously long. Food's coming off the shelf. A lot of empty shelves. So prepare yourself just in case. But remember, we have a God that's greater than any plague. He's done it before and he'll do it again. We just got to believe. I'm not discounting people's beliefs or their worries, but for myself, I know that we got the protection of God over us, and He's got a plan for each and every one of us. So I just give it to God every day and let Him do what He's got to do. And as my wife and prescribed to everybody that we work with, we do our part. We do our part and let the rest go to God. Okay? So today I'm going to go to part four of chapter 10, and healing the wounded child within. A lot of you might not be in an area where you can watch this today, but I'm going to go ahead and post it anyways. That's my commitment. It'll be on my YouTube channel if you don't get to see it today or tomorrow on Facebook, but it will be on my YouTube channel later today or tomorrow. So you can go there and watch all my videos. And while you're there, just push the subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds to do. Doesn't cost you no money, but it really helps out the foundation. Okay. So let's get right into it. Today I'm going to talking about seeking love and approval from our abusers. Again, we're talking about confronting the perpetrator, which is not a good idea to do. There's too many things that are at risk in confronting our perpetrators. Didn't matter how healed you are, you could face a lot of shame if you were to go to that perpetrator and talk to them and they looked at you as though you were crazy and what are you talking about? I never did a thing to you. And that happens more often than not. So when we get into the forgiveness part of our journey, which is going to be in chapter 12, the whole thing about forgiveness is for you and it's not for the other person. Oftentimes the other person doesn't even know that you got a problem with them. So confronting the perpetrator is not a good idea, in my opinion. If you choose to do it, I would highly suggest a couple of things. One, that you are seeing a very well-schooled clinician in the subject, life coach as myself, or mentor that is well-schooled in this particular trauma, because it can lead you down a rabbit hole of shame that you might not make it out of. Okay, and I've gone down it myself, confronting people. So I know all too well. Okay. So seeking love and approval from our abusers. You know, a lot of the books and the websites and articles that we read about this, they indicate that survivors of sexual abuse we often experience a really intense array of emotions. And that's true, ranging from self-hatred to rage to depression. That's very, very, very true. But what they all seem to feel, or what many, not all, wrong word to use, what many of them fail to mention is that these feelings oftentimes they stem from an inferno of neediness. It's a big black hole of insecurity that we have in us. Um, it's desperation to be loved. We just want to be loved. There's parts of my book when I was writing it, I questioned, man, what did I do that for? And it's because I was hoping beyond hope that this time it would be different, and this time he would do the right fatherly thing, and he was incapable of doing that. Actually, some of the most painful and lasting effects of sexual abuse, they spring from that desire of love and approval. Now, for myself, my father just died. He just died. My father was my hero. He's my knight in shining armor. And a month after he died, I walked home, and there is my perpetrator, Jack, sitting in the living room. And when he took me in my bedroom and talked to me and did what he did to me, and we walked out, it says, "Don't tell nobody." Well, I was craving that love. I was craving a father's figure and a father's love, and I thought that's what I was getting, right? And that in itself ran my life well into my adulthood, right? One, the damage that did to me, and two, to this day, to this day, I miss my father. He died in 1969, and we're in 2019, so 60 years ago. My father died. And the difference between the day and back then was today I have the tools that I can deal with it. Today I can sit down and rest in those feelings of missing my father, and I can have a talk with him even though he's not here. Um, Sometimes if I'm desperate enough, I don't want to say desperate enough, that's not right, but sometimes when I'm feeling these feelings that I need that father's approval. I need his words of encouragement. What I'll do is I'll reach out to my kids and I'll give them what I need, and that really, really helps me a lot. So it's we're so desperate for that love that oftentimes that's why we act out in frustration, and that's why we act out in destructive ways, because we're trying to get that approval, trying to get that acceptance. You think about it, and I've heard this mentioned, but a dog trainer I had, um, oh man, it was a long time ago, 20 years ago, Game Land Kennels. Guy was phenomenal, phenomenal dog trainer. And he said it like this in dog training. He likened it to kids. Well, the example he used is that, people are seeking attention, and so dogs seek attention. So when you train a dog, you train them with nothing but positive reinforcement, and when they're doing the negative stuff, you ignore them. Okay, it's a little different with a dog, I understand, but the principle is the same. But look at these kids that are shooting up schools, that are doing the things they're doing. They're craving, they're dying for attention. They're dying for it. We just got to come to that acceptance that they're dying for attention, and they're going to get it however they want it. And so then they go shoot up a school, and they get all the attention in the world. All the focus is on them. You can hear me now, can't you, Mom and Dad? I bet you don't. Bet you're not going to not listen to me again. You see what I'm saying? We crave for attention. We'll turn to destructive ways. It might be drugs and alcohol. It might be these kids that are shooting up schools. It could be a bunch of different things. I left home when I was 17 and basically cut Jack and my mother completely out of my life soon after that. But even knowing what he was, and hating him for it, I still wanted his approval. I had a guy when I was speaking at a treatment facility said, "Why didn't you just beat the crap out of him?" Well, one, I was a teenager, and two, authority figures you don't beat the crap out of, especially a father figure. Okay, so that's why I didn't do it. still hoping that no matter what, somehow I could get his attention. And it was so bad that when I was 25, right after I first met Kathy, I had Kathy and my son Danny, and we were headed up towards Big Bear, and we're going out there four wheeling in the backcountry, and it was real close to where we used to go camping and hunting when I was a kid with the whole family, with Jack, my mom, my sisters, and my stepsister, and everybody. I can remember thinking that, and I go, man, you know what? I'm gonna drive by that campsite and see if they're there because it's deer season right now. And I hadn't seen either one of them, my mother or my stepfather, probably, I don't know, sometime. I can't really tell you how long. I can remember driving up to the campsite, and sure enough, there they were, the entire gang, all of them. Right, same camp spot, same people. I can remember driving up and seeing one of my brother-in-laws I actually adored. He was really good to me. Drinking his iced tea like he always had. It was either iced tea or Jack Daniels, but this was iced tea. It was too early in the morning for him. And that person was probably him and her and his wife, and then my sister-in-law, my other sister-in-law, Tam and Kat, and they were all pretty friendly to me. But Jerry was like a really good friend to me. I can remember we were camping, and I'm sitting around a campfire late at night, and then we decided it's time to go to bed, right? So I fall asleep right next to the fire on my cot in a sleeping bag. So look at it. Everything's not all dark and dreary. I mean, there's a lot of fun that I've had in my life too, and this is one of them. And so about 3 o'clock in the morning, I hear this grunting over my head. I'm going, oh my God, please don't be a bear. Please do not be a bear. And I keep on hearing it. My cot rocks a little bit, and I slowly open my eyes, and I awaken to this big black face right on my big black hairy face and my face. Oh my God, it's a bear. And what it was my brother-in-law who liked to play jokes on me, and he had a full big old black beard, and he looked just like a bear, short, burly guy. He was on the ground dying laughing, just dying laughing. So, it was just one of those times that memory came back to me when Kathy and I stopped, um, and talked to everybody. And, why did I stop there? you know, it set in the long run. It set a big wave of rage over my life at that point in time. I just remember it, just the anger and the disdain I had for him, and I really got angry. And even before, I'll say this because I was still in the car when I recalled that memory of my brother-in-law. And even before I got out of the car and wanted to leave, all of a sudden it's like, what was I thinking coming here? The whole point of my trip to the mountains that day was to be with Kathy and my son Danny. And I would have sworn on a stack of Bibles that I wanted nothing to do with my whole family. And Kathy knew it. I talked to Kathy. She couldn't understand why until she started meeting them all. Right? Somehow here I'd found myself right in the midst of all of them. I received a warm welcome from everyone including Jack. I got a warm welcome from. And everybody was cordial to me, but still the memories and the rage was there. And I had that sour taste in my mouth when I left. See, at that point, I was much more physically fit than I had been the last time that I had seen everybody. I had a great job, and there was a beautiful, beautiful woman at my side. Nevertheless, I felt really sick. I realized that I had gone to the campsite because, and this is important, I wanted to show all this off. I wanted everybody to see my beautiful wife, my son from my first marriage, Danny, my truck that I was driving, my newfound body. This, you know, I was in shape physically. I wanted them to see the successful man that they never said could be successful. Even after everything that had been done to me, everything that they had said to me, all the pain that I had, the bottom line to that doing that was the truth is that I still was looking and searching and seeking for their approval and acceptance. I never got it. I never got it growing up. I never got it since then. There's a strong pull on us to get our parents to love us. It's incredibly strong, and I think that's given to us from God. Even in the midst of harmful situations. I remember we were at Father's Heart Ranch about 6-7 years ago. It was Christmas we were there, and Father's Heart Ranch had the worst of the worst foster kids. They're pretty roughed up and going around asking the kids what they wanted for Christmas. And I remember one child asking and saying, "All I want for Christmas is I want my family. I want to be with my mom and dad. The mom and dad that was so abusive to him. That's all he ever wanted." See, we don't understand the damage that it's doing to us. We need that love. We need that understanding. We can get it from other people, but there's still something about receiving it from a father or a mother that's completely different. See, until we can recognize it for what it is, that need for approval and acceptance, that need for affection, it all silently runs us. It drives us to perform at some impossible standard to offset desperate insecurity that we feel inside. Dr. Alan Berger said something that one day that really, really stands true, and I think everybody does this to some extent. We're always trying to gain we're always trying to gain the unapprovable approval of our parents. We're always trying to gain the unapprovable approval or unacceptable acceptance from our parents, even when they're dead. In other words, we're always constantly trying to win approval from our parents, but it's impossible to win because they don't know how to give it. They've never given it to us as kids. Hey, Jack, they've never given it to us as kids, teenagers, young adults, and it's such a strong drive that we will even try to obtain their approval, the unobtainable approval, when they are in their graves. It's that strong of a drive. It drove me to build my business, to make more money, to get more and more. It's all I wanted. It didn't matter how much I gained. It was never enough. I had that hole in my soul. What I wanted more than anything was for this empty, aching hole that was inside. I wanted it to be filled with a warm light of approval and love. I think that's all what we all really want. We just want that approval and we want that love of a father. Right? And we can get it from God. I'm not going to argue that point, but some people are really struggle with that because they have a problem believing that God can be that loving when their father here on earth wasn't loving at all either. And even at that, for me, I still need that approval of my real father. Okay. wasn't even the love of my wife, my family, and friends that proved to be enough, because Kathy loved me unconditionally. I think even if my mother and Jack had apologized sincerely and then loved me in the ways I wanted to be loved when I was a child, that wouldn't have been enough. That wouldn't have been enough. Abuse steals the ability for us to love ourselves, to look in the mirror and see a whole, lovable, perfect child. I want you to understand that. It steals abuse, emotional, physical, spiritual, and sexual. It steals our ability to love ourselves, to look in the mirror and see a whole, lovable, perfect child. Much of the desperate pain we experience in our lives as survivors comes from needing love and not knowing how to get it from ourselves. See, if we're not taught how to love at a young age, if we're not loved ourselves by the ones that are supposed to love us, how are we supposed to love ourselves when we don't have a teacher? So it's not until we learn how to love ourselves that we'll be free from the trap. I mean, love from the inside, love every part of us, even love the part that was been that's been abused. Um, I have to love that part of me because it's a part of me, and I can't hide from it. It's not who I am, but I have to love it. Um, I've had countless people try to love me and tell me they love me, and over again, and it wasn't them. I knew their love was sincere, but I couldn't love myself because I didn't believe I was lovable because I was dirty and I was tainted. See, if you were to see behind the facade, if you were to see inside my eyes when I lifted them up instead of looking down at the ground all the time, you would see how broken I was, and how could anybody love me? I can't love myself. I wanted Kathy to love me in a certain way right before I had the affair in 2004. And about 3 years into my recovery, I sat back and I thought,